So we're going to get started today with the McSam 2015. I can't believe I just said that. That's pretty exciting. It's going to be a great, exciting year. We have met yesterday with the advisory group to determine the categories and requirements for this year's McSam Awards categories with lots of thought and discussion. So we're hoping that everyone will feel comfortable and confident with those. Obviously, it was taken into account the market conditions that are in place in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So you'll see those come through in the categories that have been assigned. So today's intention, the name of our program is Tips and Tricks for a Successful Winning McSam Award Entry. We can't say that we can guarantee that your entry will be successful nor winning because it's not a horse race. It really is subjective judging. However, I do want to just go back real quick before we get started and let you know that we have made some adjustments for this year's judging, which is exciting. Number one, there will be 6 professional marketing and sales from the home building industry coming to Dallas from outside of your market who have judged previously, veteran judges, who will actually be coming here and spending 4 days at the DVA judging your entries in person. The other part of that is during the personal and individual achievement categories, we'll be doing personal interviews, and that will be taking place on April 9th, I believe. So those folks who will be submitted into those categories will have the opportunity to spend 8 minutes with the judges, selling themselves and talking to them so they can get a sense of them rather than just reading from the work, reading from paper or from the statement. We will also be touring Community of the Year and possibly Custom Homes of the Year. It'll be dependent on, the tours will be dependent on the number of entries. But in some instances, we just recently did an awards judging in Denver, we are actually able to tour all of the homes of the year, all of the communities of the year. So that really is a great addition to this year's judging, which we feel will make everyone feel real confident in that. So that's exciting news for this year. So going back to tips and tricks, what our intention is to help you to do and prepare the best entry possible without going crazy and pulling your hair out. That being the case, really, do not stress too deeply on these entries. If it is something that you feel confident that you would hand in to your boss or to someone as a good representation of that entry or that community, it is more than likely just fine for a judging. However, we're going to give you some notes and some ideas on how to express yourself in a way that the judges are going to be happier to hear it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the process step by step. We're going to go through how the entry process is going to work for this year. We're going to talk about tips about putting your entries together, how to make it easy and simple. We're going to talk about what the judges are looking for and how they are judging so that you have an understanding of how fast and how rapid the judging is going by. Because if you can imagine, you have a category of interior merchandising that has 27 entries in it. We are not sitting there for 2 hours determining the pillow colors and the textures. We're moving at a pretty good pace. So we're going to give you an idea of what that looks like. And then we're going to answer all of your questions. So as we're going along, if something comes up, make sure to keep a nice list of questions. At the end, we're going to go through everything so that you feel good. So the first thing we want to talk about are the important dates. These are the dates, and I've passed out a handout that we will also have as a download online for some reason. If you misplace this, Misty's going to put it up as a PDF, but it basically is the important dates for McSam this year. First thing is, the call for entries is going to go live November 19th, so you have a bit of time. We're going to give you a little bit, a month, because we're actually going to be opening up, this year's theme is going to be a sky full of stars. And we're going to be opening up the fact that the collateral materials, we're going to open up to the membership to put together their ideas and their thoughts to, so we can choose the graphics for this year. So that'll be exciting. March 20th, it's a 2-step entry process. March 20th is the entry application deadline. It's a 2-step process, being that the fact that we are going to submit the entry application with all of your lists. You send that in, and it's returned to you with your entry numbers and your materials and the instructions on how to submit. March 27th is your submittal. That's when all the materials are due. So basically, don't wait till March 20th. You can, or you have up to the 20th to add additional materials. We do not suggest you wait till the very last minute. It's like doing your homework for history class the night before it's due. We will be collecting materials on the 27th as stated, because we will be here judging in town the 7th through the 10th with personal interviews on the 9th here at DBA. On the 15th, tax day, you'll know that we're going to be loading the finalists on the website, so everybody will know who's up for this year's awards. If you're interested in sponsoring McSam this year, the sponsorship deadline will be April 24th. That's a hard deadline this year because we definitely want to make sure that everyone receives their benefits, but we do want to make sure that the ads and the materials are in on time so that we can be respectful for the printing and preparation of show materials. And of course, May 7th is the night of all nights, where we will gather together and present McSam trophies to the winners.
Is that a Thursday again?
It is a Thursday.
If on the sponsorship deadline, what Misty was saying, if things don't come in places that they're needed, it'll just be a thank you.
If for some reason you have an ad as part of your sponsorship and it does not come in by the deadline, DBA will create a thank you on your behalf, but it won't be as pretty or as gorgeous as if you'd submitted it by yourself. So, just to remind us all, because we all get busy, we will be sending out tickle reminders as we're going along through the process. On January 21st, 8 weeks before McSam, we're going to send you out a nice little reminder. It's 8 weeks to McSam. Don't forget to get your photography. The 4th of February, we'll send out 6 weeks to McSam. I hope you're working on your marketing statements. The 18th
How
of
did we opt
February.
out of this? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Boy, that would be
That's
Oh,
going
yeah.
to stress me out, though.
You might not opt out if I send you a nice sample or some little gift.
I'm totally kidding. Are you going to incentivize me? No.
Yeah, I'll incentivize you.
Yeah.
And the 18th, you get the 4 weeks, and of course, March 4th, you're going to get 2 weeks. The reason for those is just because it's just that. For some reason, because of the way the world works now, because we all know we can turn something in, like even our taxes we do the night before it's due, right? It's just to remind us that it's coming. I cannot tell you. We do 13 awards programs around the country. I can tell you right now, of all 13, the day after the deadline, I'm getting the phone call. Oh, did I miss it? Yeah, you missed it. And unfortunately, because of how competitive and how full the awards programs are now, we're getting to a point now where we can't actually bend the rules as much because there's just so much work to do on our end once the materials come in that we can't actually push those deadlines like we used to. So please keep those deadlines ahead of you and know that they're coming.
I just can't believe it's so soon.
Yeah. Well, this is the latest show we ever had. It's the latest deadline. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
I know. That's what I was
We've never
thinking
been
about
in
March
May before.
20th. Yeah, because
Yeah.
usually it's in February.
Yeah, it seems like it's really late. It seems like it's really far away, and that's why those reminders are there because I just don't want it to fall off your calendars. It seems like it's way out there. So just going through, there are no major adjustments to the individual achievement categories other than the fact that we updated the sales prices for this year. No major changes to the marketing advertising except for the addition of computer-generated sales tool. Those are point of sale, touch screen in the sales office, anything computer-generated, virtual reality tours and so forth. So that's a new category for this year. Note, best logo and best website, those categories can and will be split based upon the entries received, if we receive enough for logos for communities, builders, or developers. Same with website. Website would be split between builder, community, and or associates. Associates would be partners, non-builders. Interior merchandising and design. The major changes for this year is the price ranges have been adjusted to this year's price ranges, as well as the addition of best interior and architecture of a patio or townhome plan. So those are back in. And then the newest entry for this year is category 43, which is design series. And that is a design series of plans for a builder. As architectural design, basically you need to have one plan model, and that needs to be submitted in architectural categories. But then you submit the entire series in as a one entry. It's been highly successful in other markets, and people really love it, especially if you've got some new architectural series that you're debuting in a new community. So that's a new one for this year.
So just to clarify for those, you have to have photography of the model that you have of that series, but the rest can be like inserts, your floor
Right.
plan and renderings, or floor plan and photos if you have photos of the product. So, but you have to, you're asking for floor plan end model of each of the rest of the series.
Exactly, and what we're gonna say is, if you have them all modeled, we'd love to have photography of them if it's available. If not, at least one model. It makes for, obviously, an easier view. And if there is opportunity, that is one of the categories where we will actually go and tour. So we'll be able to see it in person. This year we have, Home of the Year, we have the Custom Home of the Year. We've changed that a little bit, or qualified it. That can be built on your own lot, an urban infill, or a custom home for a client. So just making sure that those are opportunities. Home of the Year for production, that's a great category. Just remember you have to enter into, at least into that plan, into interiors and into architecture to be qualified. McSam Builder of the Year has been updated. We have a new form with 6 questions. They're all weighted. We feel like this is going to be a great equitable way to determine the Builder of the Year. We've passed those out here, and so that everybody can have a chance to take a peek at them. It basically asks how they perform market success, they're working with the trades, how they performed, and their community involvement. They're all weighted. The judges will use those to determine, and that will be a new improvement for this year. So we're excited about that. Communities of the Year. We have a Community of the Year which is determined and defined as a single builder building in a single area, offering a smaller enclave of homes, not a master plan. And then we have the master plan communities, which are determined as under 600 acres and over 600 acres. Both of those, you do need to enter at least 4 categories to qualify. And then, of course, we're thrilled to have back for this year the People's Choice Awards, which will be, the deadline for that is March 6th, so more information will be on the website about that, on how the timeline and how that's going to be accomplished. So we're real excited about that. So just so everybody has that. This year's entry application is going to be a beautiful Excel document that can be edited and changed, and will be a living, breathing document, so that if we have changes to it as we're going on through the process, that is not a problem. Entry numbers will be assigned as your entries come through. But if for some reason, one entry falls out and you need to replace it with something else, we'll easily be able to edit your Excel document and return it to you. We will not be invoicing for final entries until until you say, I'm done, we're good, this is our final, and we're turning in our materials. So just so that everybody knows, I know that there's an ebb and a flow. Sometimes it's, oh, we're entering this plan, oh no, we're moving it, we're switching out for that plan. So that'll be a little easier for everyone to deal with this year. Once you submit your entry applications to us to get moving, which obviously is living breathing, we will send you back a confirmation with the entry numbers and the instructions on how to submit. The biggest change for this year is we will be allowing the entrant to supply their materials, their entry folders, to us via whichever file sharing method makes you happy. If it's Dropbox, Hightail, any of the others, use whichever one you feel most confident with.
Corporate FTP site?
FTP site works great as well. The only thing we like to say is make sure that you keep your entries in a folder, just like if you were going to keep it on your desk. All the materials for that entry are in individual folders, so that when we go and we download them, we know we can pull them into the categories of which they go. All right. Again, we will invoice at the very end once we have a final list. So just a little information, just showing you how we outline the categories, the entries, the numbering, and the folders. The McSam entry form. The reason for this form, and I like to debunk it and get everybody clear, the entry form is basically for us to be able to use for credits in the program, the engraving, and so forth. If for some reason you're submitting this entry, you do not need to complete all of the lines on the entry form, only the elements and fields that apply to that entry. So if you're submitting for best architecture, we don't need to know your signage company, your interior merchandiser, or your any other sales office, for instance. However, if you're going for Community of the Year, you may want to fill it out one time and then just use it for the rest of the entries. It's very important that we at least have. We don't necessarily need their address. You can leave that blank if you'd like to. But if you'd like to give us their email, what will happen is the contact email is just so that when we do the announcement, the email goes out to everybody. It's letting them that person know that the McSam finalists have been posted. Okay. Some people are like, no, we don't need to send it to the client, and that's fine. If you don't want to supply it to us, that's totally fine. You will not be disqualified in any way. We just need the list. The marketing statement, simple and clean. This year's entries go from January 1st of 2014 to December 31st, 2014. So make sure you know your eligibility period. Fill out the pieces that fit for your entry. Most of them do fit. The project location is always good to know where we're talking about. If it's, south, northwest, because we will have a market overview for the judges so that they understand where the hot markets are and what the buyer type is for that area. The sales price is obviously important, so to understand. And then the date open, usually that's a good information if it's a community, not necessarily for a home. It's just information qualifies the entry. The website address, a lot of people get like, why do we have the website address? It has the name of the community or the name of the builder. The judges never see this form. This is for us in the judging. For some reason, if we get some hinky-dinky question from some judge who goes, well, wait a minute, can you tell me, it says on the plan that it has, these options, what's model? And I need to go to your website to answer that question that's not addressed. It's my fail-safe. Basically, that's why it's there. So again, judges never see this form. This is read to them and explained to them and used in the judging. Okay?
One thing you might want to add on to that, since the time period, the deadline, you have that deadline in there, but the time period for the People's Choice, we just decided on 24 months.
Right.
Probably need to add that.
Exactly.
To that sheet.
We will update.
Yeah.
That'll be a completely separate form.
Just so people don't think they only have 12 months.
You got it, exactly. One note on this, and I will touch on this later, for multiple entries, those who have, same entry, you're spending that same home, we really strongly suggest you do not use a boilerplate statement. Boilerplate being the same statement for multiple entries. Never fails. We'll get some of these in a category, and we'll start to read the statement and go, oh, they gave me the same statement for interior, sales office, and architecture. The judges find that highly insulting. They really want to hear about that sales office. They really want to hear about the interiors or that architecture, even if it's only 2-3 sentences. Just don't give them that boilerplate. It just never goes well.
And it's not only just for the same house. Sometimes people will do that if they have multiple houses in one community, and they'll do kind of a boilerplate because they think that all 3 or 4 of those houses reflect the same kind of statement, and then they'll hear the same thing over, same type of information.
Exactly. A good example was a recent judging. The same project had three plans in the same category. Literally what they did to get away with this, they said, okay, this is plan 2. This is the party house. This is where the family are older and they really want to have entertainment, and so that's the intention. Plan 1 is the empty nester house, and this is where we're just going to show off and we just don't need the space. Plan 3 is, oh no, this is a total family house, we need lots of bedrooms, and they just basically addressed why they did what they did in the category. The judges took that much better than the fluffy consumer statement that we maybe had on our website or on our brochure. Just a tip. So again, as soon as you have your materials ready, so you have your sets of materials. You have your entry form, your marketing statement, your 6 to 8 images for your entry, and your floor plan if required. Once you have those in your folders and you're ready to go, please feel free to send them over. We are happy to take them. And if for some reason you send them early and you decide, oh my gosh, we want to replace that 6th image or something else, happy to replace it for you. But when you're ready to go, send it over. It gives us more time to prepare the judging on our end. And if for some reason something's missing, we'll call you. Hey, you know what? We're missing a marketing statement for that category 15. Also, never submit your original files. Even if you're sending Dropbox, Hightail, wherever else. Make sure those suckers are saved on a backup drive. We had one entrant who literally, the marketing person, sent all her original files. We downloaded them. We moved them over. She needed them. When they come to us, they get split out. If you can imagine sending that nice little folder when you send it to us, it gets dispersed out into many different elements. Trying to put that back together for her because she needed it the next morning for a presentation, we were up till 2 in the morning. So that's no fun. I mean, we'll get it done, obviously, because we want to make sure it happens, but it's just a that was a tough category to go through.
It just says how the Dropbox and some of the other ones work. When you
Right.
take something out of it, it's out of it.
Right.
Or you put something into it.
Oh yes, another thing, you don't need to share the folder with us. If you send us a link, that's fine. We'll download it. That seems to be the best case for Dropbox. Shared folders, for some reason, that's when people can start moving things around. That's what we found that works the best. So again, steps to enter. Review your categories. This is the biggest thing that I want to share with you today. When you're in your meetings and you're discussing your categories, try to come up with a strategy. If you're going for Community of the Year and you know that you have to submit in certain categories, just determine which plans are the best plans you want to submit, the strongest plans, the ones that are selling the best. Tell us about those. If you've got a great signage, talk about that signage. Go strong there. Come up with a crafting, like almost as though you're doing your marketing plan. That way, you're going to feel confident with those entries. You're not going to feel like, okay, I'm just throwing entries into the competition. Now, not to say we don't want lots of entries and that it doesn't, help you by showing the most you can. But the more that you can come up with a strategic plan, the better you will be. Also, crafting that statement, building through the entry, talking about in logo, hey, the concept of this community started off with this, this nugget of information in our logo, and it grew from there, always works better. Once you've determined your list, get that entry application into us. We can get you back your entry numbers so you can get working. And then make sure you get your entry materials prepared and send them off. And if you do send them off prior to the deadline, we will review them. And if there's some problem, it gives you that little bit of extra time to be able to get it to us. Okay? And if at any time you're going through any of this process and you have a question, I need a sample marketing statement for a sales office. I am just stuck. Can you send me something so I can get inspired? Let us know. We have more than enough great examples. Obviously some that you'll be able to download here or pick up today, but there are more to be had, and we're happy to help you. So tips. Here's some information. We like to say choose categories and enter them early. Get those numbers in so that you can feel confident, and then start getting your photography ordered and your materials outlined. You need those brochures. You need an actual brochure for the brochure category. Make sure that your printing date isn't 2 days before the judging. Photography, book those photographers now. It is definitely not the way it was 2 years ago where the photographers were sitting around going, oh wow, I wish I had something to do. They're busy. And it never fails. You go call them up and say, hey, I need to have a shot. And they're like, sorry, we don't have any time. So then you're scrambling. Get those guys booked. That doesn't mean that photography wins awards. They don't. They can hurt you. I will tell you that. There's some photographers who will not help you. So if you send your photographer out and you give yourself enough time to see what you get back from them, and you say, oh my gosh, you've completely missed the boat. I need you to go back out and do reshoots. You shot that living room at the completely wrong angle. This is not, it's not going to work for my website, and it's certainly not going to work for my entry materials. It gives you enough time to get them back out there. Make sure that your materials, when you tell the photographer that you're submitting, have them size it for you to the 1800 by 1200 pixel rate so that you don't have to be resizing as they're coming in. It's nice to know they can do it as they're going along. Marketing statements, concise, to the point, bullet points work very well. I'm going to show you an example coming up where literally the best statement we had this year was as if we were walking through the plan with the judges. It walked you through the front door, walked you through the home. The sequence of photography was exactly in the order of what the statement was written. It was like we were there. I'll show you that coming up. In your marketing statement, if you're talking about a home or a sales office or anything, try not to mention elements or pieces that you can't see in the photography. That adorable little girl's room was just the hit of this plan. Where's the little girl's room? We don't see it. We see it on the floor plan, but we don't see it in the pictures. Try not to, we don't need to talk about it if we can't see it. It's a disconnect. The judges, know your audience. The judges are professionals just like you. Write to that statement just like you were speaking to a professional across the table. Hey, here's what we did. It's a family home. We needed some good colors. It was a market that needed, we need a dirty kitchen, and so it has, these functionalities. Explain your constraints, explain your thought process in a very professional manner, not as though you're speaking to a consumer, okay? So this is what the judges look at or see when we're judging. This is the 8 images up at the same time. They're thumbnails here. And what happens is it all comes up at one time, and we go through it at a first round as a first impression. And then when we come back through, we blow them up and we have the thumbnails. And the thumbnails get large, and then we read the statement. So I'm going to give you here an example of what it's like.
Okay, so let's take a look at entry 4304. Located in Lone Tree, this home is targeted towards young professionals and families with a base price of $669,000. Square footage is 5,686 square feet. Beautiful inside and out, the attention to detail in this house is unparalleled. From carefully selected materials and color on the exterior to a well thought out livable floor plan inside, this house has it all. The open rail stair wows upon entry, but once around the corner, the glassed-in studies tucked below the stairs steals the show. The light and bright great room, designed to capture the beautiful views with expansive windows, opens to an infinity kitchen, which perfectly conceals a butler's pantry. An extra-large island, perfect for entertaining or casual meals, anchors the kitchen and provides extra counter space. The master suite screams luxury with its private covered balcony, fireplace, oversized walk-in closet, and a spa bath. Upstairs, a multifunctional loft is a perfect place for crafts or homework. All outdoor spaces in this home are oriented towards the stunning mountain views because that's exactly why we live here in Colorado. Let's have a discussion now on this plan, judges, and our thoughts.
So that is literally how much time they have to see, and that's literally real time. So if you can understand that that's your amount of time you have to make an impression, consider that when you're writing that statement. Because literally, they read it, they see it, they discuss it, and we're on. And then they're making notes, and we come back and we're like, okay, what's your top 5? That's how fast it goes. So, as you're sitting there laboring over, 1 or 2 words, just kind of keep that in your mind as what you're seeing, okay?
You mentioned luxury bath, and I was looking forward to seeing a picture of that.
Yeah.
I know, see?
Yeah.
So now do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a totally right to what your imagery is. I'll tell you what, that is the key element to it. Unless you have like a major constraint, like for some times, it was brought up yesterday, and that judging, we had one product line that was 21.5 feet width for the product line, and they were all urban infill. And they had incredible constraints because of the time that they could build, the product types, the NIMBYs in the area. Those are the other things you want to talk about. What we've given in your packages, and I'm just going to kind of go through this really quickly, is samples. And the reason that I've given these ones is just to show you, this is basically what you'll see for a logo category. You're going to see the logo in color in black and white, and they really just want to know, okay, what was the intention? This was obviously to attract and express vitality and a balance. It's an Asian buyer in Silicon Valley. Tell us about if there's a specific buyer profile in your market. I'm not sure if that's as applicable in this market as it is in Colorado or in California or in Florida. But if there's an ethnicity that you need to address, that's important to understand. We have provided samples. This is a great example for internet marketing. These were different banner and e-blasts they did, showcasing the fact that it was cohesion, because that's just it. With your internet marketing, you're seeing it pop up in different areas. They wanted to showcase the fact that it was all continuous. And then they gave us, in their statement, they gave us the results. That's the most important part. Where was it running? How did it result? What's your click rate? It doesn't matter how pretty it is. It really has to talk about how did it perform. That's what the judges are looking for. This is a sales office category. They're talking about the fact that it's about the experience of the consumer walking into the sales office. Sales offices are becoming much more of a retail-like environment, so they gave us the process. And then, obviously, you can see the photography. They showcase the elements that they talked about in their statement and why they focused their attention on those spaces. A nice, clean floor plan is always helpful. If your floor plan, if you can't do call-outs or if you don't have the furniture displays, that's fine. A floor plan so that we can have spatial awareness is always preferred than not. This is hard to see in this area, but you have it on your handouts. But the reason I want to show you this entry is, this is a behind the music type entry. This is a signage entry in a very, very difficult market. This market hadn't seen new homes in 25 years, first new home community in 25 years. They had incredible obstacles to overcome with the city council, the fact that you could have no off-site signage off-site of the actual community, and it had to be extraordinarily sophisticated and understated. That was the requirement of the city. This photography is not the greatest photography, but what they do show you is the fact that this was a former Indian burial ground, so they had to be extraordinarily sensitive to that. They couldn't put any posts in too deep. They had, the behind the music of the story is why it made it so special. And it literally won the category just for that, because it told us this incredible story about what they had to go through just to put signs up to direct somebody to get to their community. Can you imagine? Now, this is an entry where I like to, this is the dump, this is the boilerplate where they submitted the home and the interior category and the architecture category, and they used the exact same statement for the plan in both categories. When we got to the architecture category, they were like, don't even read it, we don't even care. It was a nice house. It wasn't a great house, but the judges get tired. So.
And they're looking at the floor plan.
They're looking at the floor plan, that's exactly right, and it's being read then. So now here's a case where someone shot themselves in the foot, not even understanding that they shot themselves in the foot. This was the first image that popped up on the screen. This was the second image. The first image was a professional shot. The second image was because they felt like they needed an extra shot, so they shot it with their iPhone. Mm-hmm. Then we went back to the professional shot. Then we went back to the iPhone. And then we went back to the professional. And that was it. So when you got them up on the screen all together, it was like, oh man, that hurt. It would have almost been better for them to have left those other images out, just have chosen the 3 images. No, in the categories, we say 6 to 8 images. If the image is going to hurt the entry, leave it out. More often than not, you think it's going to help because, it's the kitchen or the master. If it doesn't match, it's okay to leave it. I'm just going to go ahead and go in that direction for you because it did hurt this one. For individual achievement, I wanted to just give you guys some examples and some information. Because we're doing the personal interviews, these entries, the statements, are basically the overview. They're the summation page for that judge so that they can read it and understand who this person is before they walk in the door. This is where you're going to give them the statistics on that person. Sales, broker referrals, cans, the type of product they were selling, where they were selling, and their obstacles. And then you have the statement. If you are the person submitting someone else and you're nominating that person, tell us why you believe that person's worthy this year. What did they do that stood out in the company's mind? Biggest key is make sure you send that entry to the person before they walk in the door. Okay? Don't keep it a secret. Because if they walk in the door, and here's Sally, she walks in the door and she sits down, the judges ask 3 questions. And normally it's the same 3 questions for all entrants because it's equitable that way. But if they ask her, because one of the questions may be, something about her obstacle, and they say, oh wow, we heard you had this obstacle because you had, the prison down the street and you had, no signage for your community. How did you overcome that? And she has no idea what we're talking about. She's going to be already on her back foot, okay? So give her a heads up of what you stated about her. Now, if she's the person who's submitting herself, she's going to have written it so she'll have some form of reference. Other big thing is if you're submitting someone, make sure they know that there's a personal interview. It's okay if they're gone or on vacation. We can do them by Skype. We can do them by telephone. It works out just fine. 2 weeks ago, we had one lady. She was in Aruba sitting by the pool, having her Mai Tai and talking to the judges. It worked out just fine. But if for some reason they don't know about it, we do have people who are no-shows that obviously that does not bode well. They do judge them based on the written word, but obviously they're hindered by the fact they didn't come in. So that's basically, I gave you a sample of a good challenge for the salesperson. And then for the community superintendents, same thing. Those guys, they're usually the unsung hero. They've gone above and beyond. We love to hear those stories, so make sure you let them know. Now on to the questions portion. I've either done a good job or a terrible job, so please ask me any questions if you have. And again, these are just samples that we have used that we find that did well, answered the questions of the judges, but if you have a specific entry that you need a sample for, just email us. Our contact information is there. As you're going through, if you need names of photographers, because your photographers are all booked, we have a photographers list that we can share with you. If you have photographers that you'd like to add to the list, we're always happy to have those. Trying to think if there was something else. Oh, and the biggest thing, if you are going for Community of the Year or Home of the Year, you will be notified. We will be touring it prior to the judging, so that you can let your on-site team know that we're on our way or going to be there that day, so they aren't surprised or they are not writing a contract or with a client. We definitely do not want to interrupt any business that will be happening in your on-site. And also, you know, if you want to send out that cleaning lady ahead of time, or you know, do whatever you're going to do beforehand. So that's basically the tricks and the tips.
You've got the 3 dates in there, so if you're going for this category, know that those 3 dates you need to keep everything open.
Exactly. It's okay if for some reason that day, you know, you have a temp in place rather than your on-site salesperson. We totally understand it. You might want to tell the temp to let us know that they're the temporary for the day. You know, they're not the on-site salesperson, so that the judges don't start asking them questions that they can't make answers for, and so forth. It's always interesting when we pull up in this big white van with, you know, 7 people, and we walk out and they're like, okay, this is either the judges or some crazy
Or a
thing.
kidnapping.
Yeah.
Where do you see those dates? I don't see those dates.
Oh, I think she has the dates down there.
I think it was in the important dates in the handout.
Oh, right here, right here.
Yes.
Okay. The
So-
7th through the 10th. of
Yeah, just so
September.
they
Yes,
know,
yes,
yeah.
yes. So can I ask a question about the personal interviews?
Absolutely.
So I know you were talking about that personal interviews for the salespeople of the year and that kind of thing, but are you talking about like for all entries there'll be personal interviews?
No.
Okay.
Just for the
Just
categories 1 through
individual
12.
ones. Okay,
Exactly.
yeah. Okay, good. Because
So-
I was sitting here thinking, can you imagine Gonzalo talking about our full time? So
It would
I'd
be a
like-
3-hour
Yeah,
event,
it'd be-
No, none for that. The majority
Just
of
trying
the
to say
marketing
no.
categories will be done here in the room via the media that you saw. And then we're intending that it'd be communities, the design series, and possibly Home of the Year that will tour.
Okay.
So it won't be all the interior merchandising, it will not be all of the architecture. We would just need to be here for much longer. So, but for the higher categories, we'll be in person.
Great.
Yesterday, you mentioned that you would have something for people that were not able to attend today.
Yes.
Okay. The reason I'm asking,
Mhm.
I was in sales for so long and I'm just now in marketing.
Sure.
So I was at McSam last year and just kind of got into a little bit of it, helping Jamie, our marketing director, who
Okay.
could not be here. So I want to make sure I'm giving her all the information she's going to need.
Absolutely. So what you're going to have available with what you take home today, not only will you have that, but on the website, this video will be on the website, the download of all the entry samples, the dates, the call for entries, and all the forms. And so at any time you can, if for some reason you lose them, you can always go back and grab them there, as well as an email link to us in case you have a specific question or a telephone number, so you can give us a call. And never feel as though you can't pick up the phone. There is no such thing as a stupid question. We've heard them all, and we've talked people down from, you know, I have 15 marketing statements and they're due in an hour, and what am I going to do? Don't worry, we're going to get you through this. So, not a problem. We are here to help. And our goal, just so you know, the goal of McSam, the goal of the advisory committee, and the goal of us during the judging is about recognition. It is not about, oh my goodness, they messed up, we're missing something, they're out. We never disqualify someone. We will do our best to give a call, to find it on a website, to help in any way possible, because it really is more about the recognition than it is about, you know, rule following. Obviously, we need to make sure that everybody, we get things on a certain time, but our goal is to make sure that everybody shows in their best case.
What's the color this year? Is it just gold?
It's not been determined. And I just picked the gold because I
I've
thought it
got
was
to go
pretty.
shopping.
I think that's going to be up to whatever our graphics group comes up with. So we're excited. Sky Full of Stars is a fun theme, and we're looking forward to that. And the other good news is that Amy from Good Morning Texas is going to be our MC again.
Yeah.
And we're in a very much bigger ballroom at the Hotel Intercontinental this year, so we'll have some elbow room, and it's going to be a great night. So, and if you
Did you mention that they're gonna have the recognition for the salespeople, different categories?
Thank you, Jody. I totally forgot about that. Thank you so much. We are going to be adding back in the $1 Million Club, which is a volume award for the sales professionals, and that is different than individual achievement. Volume is just that. You will submit your closed dollar volume for a specific period. It'll be based on 3 million, 5 million, and 10 million, and those will be recognized in a video during the awards program, and they will also receive an award. It is a $75 entry fee, but it's a great way for honoring those people who've achieved dollar amounts. Now, that is a volume award. The individual achievement sales professional of the year is not judged based on your volume. It is judged based on multiple criteria, which is, the opportunities, the product you're selling, your sales process, your broker referrals, your ability to, make sure you don't have those cancellations, and then just basically, your statement about how you, went about your year of selling. So they're totally two separate type of entries. We want to make sure that they know that. It's not who sold most, because that's a different element.
On those, the $1 Million Club, I was always confused in the sales, because our fiscal year is so different, so is it sales, do they have to sell and close within that January, December?
That's correct. It's the
Okay.
closed dollar amount within that specific period.
Okay.
I have a question. I didn't see Rookie of the Year.
Rookie's in there. It's in the first. Rookie's still there. It's number one.
Number one.
We love
I
rookies.
saw that.
And if you have rookies, I'm going to tell you right now, there's an opportunity. I'll just mention it now. If you submitted into McSam last year, you can take your entries and we can roll them on into the nationals for you. We have all your materials. I'll send out an email today with the form that you fill out, and you just send back to us and we invoice you. We take your entries and we take them to the nationals. You have fantastic people and fantastic work here in Dallas, and I will tell you, almost all of the times that I've rolled over an entry into the nationals, they've done very well, especially rookies. We get very few rookies submitted, and they're, if they've submitted in their local, they're usually at the top notch. And so if they go to nationals, they fare very well. Same with your special promotions, interiors, and so forth. So I highly recommend it. It's a great way to, garner that additional exposure for your people and your product. Last year's online salesperson, it was really interesting. She came from Denver. She had been a salesperson for Stand Pacific for like 10 years. And one day they came to her and they said, we need somebody to be in the online sales, and so you're it. And so they kind of threw her into this role. Well, she jumped on it, she made it around, and she made a success of it. So they submitted her for salesperson of the year. They didn't even have a category in that show. When the judges heard what she had done and how she'd overcome the fact that it's totally different from selling in the field to being on the phone and setting appointments and following up and so forth, they literally created the category and gave her online salesperson of the year in Denver. Well, they were so excited, they submitted her to nationals. She won National Online Salesperson of the Year. She had just started doing the job 9 months before. But because she had just really gotten into it and took it and made it around, she was exemplary. So you never know what might happen if you take that person who just has a great, exciting story. Entry fees are $125 this year. Ticket prices haven't been set. Sponsorships will be online. Most of them remain the same. If you're a builder and you take a builder partner sponsorship of platinum or gold, it includes entries as part of your package, so that's a great value. So I highly suggest you consider those. They're a great way of getting that in there.